What's up, guys? Do you ever find that you are constantly thinking about irrelevant shit? I know I do. In fact, the topic of choice that my mind likes to ponder upon is myself in relation to other people. And what I mean by that is oftentimes I find myself thinking about stuff that either happened between another person and myself, or stuff that will happen between another person and myself, or I think about stuff that could have happened between another person and myself. Here's an example. While I was writing down points for this video that I wanted to express, my mind began to think about the father of one of my ex-girlfriends and how he used to check out other women while her and her mother were present. And he would make comments like, "Wow, she's got great tits," or "She's got a nice ass." And I began to think about how those comments would make my ex-girlfriend and her mother feel very insecure and very uncomfortable. But even though that is some fucked up shit, those thoughts had no relevance to the task that I was working on at that moment, which was making points for this video. Now, if thoughts like that sound familiar to you, then you, my friend, are most likely an overthinker. But don't stress, because you can control your thoughts, and I am here to teach you how. Think of your thoughts as a wild horse, and you are the cowboy or the cowgirl. If you can jump on that wild horse and you manage to break it in and to bring it under control, then you can use that horse to your advantage. You can use it to get from point A to point B a lot quicker and with less energy, or you could use it to carry stuff or to pull stuff for you. However, if you don't manage to control and to break in that horse, then you will never be able to make your life a whole lot more easier. So let's not waste any more precious time and let's cue this shit. Uppercut! So the reason why my mind was thinking too much and why I had that crazy monkey mind was because I wasn't focused on what was happening at that present moment. So I had to train my mind to focus on what was going on at the moment, at that particular moment in time, and how I did that was through meditation. Now, I meditate on a daily basis. I go for 13 minutes every morning, and even though I do meditate regularly, occasionally I do get thoughts that come floating through my mind, and I'm sure you will as well too, because it is inevitable. But here lies the key to focusing your wandering mind, and that is that as you are meditating and you notice thoughts start to come into your mind, and you notice that you start to think about random stuff, just take a step back and then observe these thoughts. That's all you're doing. You're just observing the thoughts. So as a thought enters your mind, you watch it float through, and you watch it float past you, and you watch it leave. A good analogy to use is to think of yourself as if you were sitting on a park bench in a park right next to a footpath, and you are just observing things as they happen. For example, you notice a girl rollerblading past, or you see a seagull flying overhead, or you see an elderly lady walking her black Labrador past, or maybe even look down and you see ants carrying food back to their nest. And that's all you're doing. You are just watching it as it happens. So as these thoughts float past you, you're not judging any of them, you're not identifying yourself with them, or you're not associating yourself with them, and you're not trying to control these thoughts. You are merely just watching them float right past, and you watch them go. So after each thought leaves your mind, then you bring your focus to one task and one task alone, and that is breathing. You focus on inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. And you pay attention to the little things, like how the air feels as it enters your nostrils, to how your chest expands as your lungs fill up with air, and to how it contracts as you exhale out of your mouth. And that's really all you are doing when you are meditating. You are just focusing your mind on that one task of breathing. And when thoughts come through your mind, you watch them come, you watch them pass you by, and you watch them leave. And then you bring your mind back to breathing. and to all the little aspects of breathing. Now, whenever I'm out and about during the day and I notice that my thoughts start to wander, I simply say to myself, look, hey man, your thoughts are beginning to wander again. Bring yourself back to the present moment. And so I bring my focus back to my breathing, and I also use my 5 senses to analyze what is going on at that exact moment. So let's say, for example, that I'm sitting at a bus stop. So I ask myself, what do I hear? Well, I hear the engine of a bus as it exits the bus stop. Then I ask myself, what do I smell? Well, I smell all the exhaust fumes coming from all the vehicles that are traveling past. I ask myself, what do I feel? Well, let's say I'm sitting on a bench. The bench is made of steel. And when I put my hands down on the bench, I can feel how cold the steel is. Then I ask myself, what do I see? Well, I see a young girl sprinting after a bus, but unfortunately she doesn't make it in time and her bus leaves. And then I ask myself, what do I taste? Well, I taste the sweetness of the honey and green tea that I am sipping on. Now, all these questions help me to bring my focus back to what is happening at that exact moment, at that exact time. Now, the thing that you have to remember is that meditation is like a skill, and like any other skill, the more you practice it, the better you will become. So meditation helps you to focus your mind instead of it being all over the place. Now, I must add here that there are many different types and forms of meditation, but the simplest and the most easiest one is just to focus your mind on breathing. So, to summarize, meditation helps you to focus your thoughts, meditate often, and as a thought floats through your mind, all you are simply doing is just observing the thought, and do not associate yourself with the thought. Focus your mind on breathing and on the little things like how your chest expands as your lungs fill up with air. And when your mind begins to wander, simply say something along the lines of, hey dude, your thoughts are beginning to wander again, and bring yourself back to focus on your breathing. And you can also use your 5 senses of tasting, smelling, seeing, hearing, and feeling to bring your mind and your awareness back to what is happening at that exact moment. And lastly, the more you meditate, the easier it becomes. That's it from me, guys. Peace and love.